Hello, everyone. I hope you have a great time whenever you are on this blue planet. This is another session of Microsoft Zero to Hero, and I'm Shahab, the guy who happened to be a software engineer. And I have great news for you. The next month, in the July, every Saturday we will have dedicated sessions for .NET, C#, and surrounding technologies with them. And every Saturday we have international renowned speakers talking about some topics. They are very well known and expert in their topics. And I would like to invite you to watch a clip regarding that. So let's see that. Yes, I'm super excited for .NET July, and I will share the link for that. Go there, hit the notification button, and join us for an amazing month. But let's not forget about tonight's session. Tonight we will have Christian Henrik Reich with us. He will talk for us about ML and AI capabilities in Microsoft Fabric, and we will walk through that and see how we could leverage those technologies. As you already know, we are part of Microsoft Learn community. It's a vibrant global network where learners like you could connect with Microsoft experts, build the skills, and achieve career goals through collaboration and support. And if you want to know more about us, go to aka.ms Microsoft Learn community. And as always, be patient, be kind, and listen to different opinions because there might be something new there, and it is good to first listen. Without further ado, I would like to invite Christian on the stage with us. Hi, Christian. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for being with us. And
thanks for having me. I really look forward to this session tonight.
Sure, our pleasure. Amazing. Then stage is yours. Good luck. And if there is any questions from the audience, I would like to ask them to drop it in the chat box, and we will talk about it, and you will unravel the answers for us.
Of course, of course.
Good luck.
And just interrupt me, and we take them up front. Okay.
Thank you. Yep. Sure. Great. Let's.
Yes. Okay. So today I'm going to speak about the ML and AI capabilities in the Microsoft Fabric. And it's a bit of a packed session. And I will not go so much into details. So it's more to give the impression of what is there and what can I do and what can I benefit from this. But let's get started. I will start with this book. This book is in Danish and it says artificial intelligence on the cover. And it is a book from 1997, which I inherited from my late dad. And at that time, we also have artificial intelligence. And it was also in neural networks and so forth, and also had it in the university. And I might sound like, okay, the leap we have done with within AI over the last couple of years, I might sound like I'm playing it a bit down. I'm not, because it has been very impressive. But I would also like to focus on what has driven this, what can I say, development within AI, what has made it possible. And the truth is, it's actually the infrastructure around AI. It was the infrastructure which brought AI to the mass and gave people abilities to work with AI and use it in fully. So where am I? My name is Christian Henrik Reich, but I actually go by the name Henrik. So and yeah, it's a family tradition where everybody's called Christian as the first name, so we use the middle name to distinguish ourselves. So I'm a principal architect at a company called Today, and my role there is in R&D. So if it's James Bond, I will be like Q sitting back. It's a consultancy company. So I figure out best practices around data and AI, and I have been working for Today for 2 years, and I've working primarily with Fabric of all things. So I also do teaching in AI technologies, in Microsoft AI technologies. And we have something called Reich School, which is a program for immigrant women, highly educated women who has trouble finding work in Denmark. So it's a training facility. So I've been helping Pluralsight. I part of different conferences as well. And then currently I'm holding 22 active Microsoft certifications. It used to be 25, but yeah, some got retired. And I've been a developer in many niches. I started developing when I was 8 or 9 years old, and I have been developing computer games and building data warehouses and everything between. So that's me. Of course, feel free to reach me on LinkedIn. I have a blog on Medium where I write a lot about data engineering at the moment. And of course, I also have something on GitHub. Yes. So we're starting out by talking a little bit about what is Fabric. And this Fabric picture is actually quite old. Fabric is like, it's almost 1.5 years since GA, and there was also a pre-period before the GA. And the pictures from around that time. And what we have in Fabric is that we have the one lake, and the one lake can somewhat remind of a traditional data lake, Gen 2. It's actually the same technology. And it's residing in a Power BI workspace. But we have all these data services which can access the same data. So there's really not much conversion between the data when we are using one technology from another. And the thing about here is that something can be much more easy to solve with one technology than another technology. So it's becoming a little bit of a data cloud within Azure or the Microsoft stack. As I see Fabric, apart from other services like Databricks or other services than that, Google Cloud and so forth, is that Fabric is something which integrates into the business. Like Intra-ID. Intra-ID is mostly about modeling your business with groups and so forth. So you have departments which are groups, and they have special roles and so on. And the Fabric is in the same way. So there's no password or password credentials within Fabric. It's all tied to your Intra-ID. And that also means that the data you have access to or create or so forth is actually following your credentials. So as I said, it's an old picture. We had AI as a stack, and we have Purview for governance. We still have Purview. But what has changed, this is last year in Sweden, September, FabCon, then the picture was like this. And if you can see, they have collapsed something here. But what is most important is the AI part. Now it's AI plus Copilot. And analytics is combined now. It used to be data engineering, and it used to be data science. That's one thing now. And they have introduced these databases. And databases means previously Fabric was all about analytics, but databases means, okay, we have also, we are supporting OLTP databases, and an OLTP database will be a SQL server, and now also Cosmos DB. So Microsoft is pulling in all the data services now, and the distance between the data and traveling between data services is getting smaller and smaller, and also the security is getting better, but also much more easy. So, but it's not the same as Synapse Analytics. I can guess some people might have burned their fingers on that. So, but how does the landscape look now? We have just had the Build and FabCon, and now AI has disappeared. And for me, that was a bit odd. I had seen it come a little bit. And the reason for that is that I was at another conference in Norway, Fabric February, and Microsoft introduced this stack. This is drawn from my memory. And they are now looking into, okay, they have a governance pillar, they have a data pillar, and they have an AI pillar. And supporting services will be like, okay, we have Purview. That will be the service which governs the data, what can we access, what can't we access. And it will have a close collaboration together with the Entra ID and Microsoft Fabric. And on top of that, our AI Foundry is residing, and actually also our Azure machine learning. So it's like, okay, we have pushed up the AI to a box in itself, and then Fabric becomes mainly a data layer. So my background was like, okay, I would like to do machine learning. How do I do this best with Fabric? And is Fabric still the right place to be? So that's some of the things we're going to explore in this session as well. So the agenda is like, we are going to speak about some terminologies and concepts. And then we are going to look at the AI and machine learning solutions in Asia in whole, and how do they support each other, because that's perhaps the way we need to look now compared for 2 years ago. And we also have to acknowledge that the world looked completely different 2 years ago. We didn't talk about AI agents and so forth. So the plan was a bit different than it is today. We are going to speak about assisting AI. I will talk about what these classes is, and also the AI ML practicing and the AI ML development. I categorize, when I started this session, I only had AI ML developers in mind. But over the 2 years, as I said, the world have moved, and now we actually have, as I see it, 3 categories of AI practitioners. We have the consumers, and that will be like people who are using Copilots, ChatGPT, and models like that. So they are consumer of services. And then we have the AI ML practitioners who are using AI services or models to build applications or services for the consumers. And then in the back, we have the AI ML developers who are training models, who are building the models and do all the machine learning and the AI building and so forth. Each category has certain needs. I think the consumers has the most easy, because that's usually just a chat window. While the AI ML developers has need for like MLOps, which is a bit like DevOps, just with ML. And they also need repositories to store models and, of course, build the models. And for that, we have these services, as I see it right now. Copilot, of course, everybody should know it if they are familiar with Microsoft. I think it's very hard to avoid it these days. Then we have, it used to be called Fabric Data Science. I'm not sure what it's called anymore. They're changing it all the time and can be a bit difficult. Then we have the AI Foundry. We're going to touch that a little bit as well as Azure Machine Learning. So yeah, let's get started. Let's go through some of the terminologies and concepts we have within AI machine learning, because I'm going to use them later on in the session as well. So we have artificial intelligence. It covers like all of the things we do with data. So machine learning is one of them. Funny part is that machine learning actually originated from the 1800s. Regression is heavily used in machine learning to predict prices, for example. And it was invented like 1800s. But we didn't have the machines to put in a lot of data. We just used a lot of observations and scribbled them down and did some stats on them. And then we could do a regression. Then we have the neural network. And it's the simplest, what can we say, simulation of a brain. So we have some neurons and they're built in a network, and yeah, it's a small scale of our deep learning. Our deep learning is where we have a lot of layers of neurons and a lot of inputs and a lot of outputs. For example, if we are seeing, okay, we have a GPT model of 32 kilobytes, it means, okay, we can put in a lot of data and a lot of data will come out. And it's like that the machine learning part is actually the most efficient in many cases, but the part we're focusing on is the deep learning part. And I understand why it is, and we also on the hype curve on that one, on the rising. So we are going to look into what can we use all these tools for, and how can we make everything better. Then we have training, and training is about, okay, we have some data, we have an algorithm, and out comes a model. And a model is just, if you're a developer, often a type of class. It can be a Python class, like we know from C# class. That's one way to have a model. Then we have the other thing. That's when we would like to use the model. Then we have a data which looks almost like the one we trained with. And then we are calling the model with that data. And then we get a so-called prediction. What comes out of a model is almost always called the prediction. And the whole process is called inferring. So when I say train and infer, it's like, okay, we are training the model, we are using the model. We also have around the ecosystem, we have a lot of frameworks now. TensorFlow is from Google, PyTorch is Meta, and scikit-learn is community, and most start with scikit-learn, and you can get very far with scikit-learn. Then we have model formats, so we can exchange model also between the frameworks, but most important is that when we are having an AI service, we are having a web service actually, but we have a socket, and that socket can be compatible with, for example, Onyx or TouchScript or so forth. So that's actually the infrastructure I mentioned now. We have found some consensus around, okay, we are building a web service, we are putting in a model, we are putting an API in front, and then a client can call with REST to the API, infer the model, and get predictions back. This is, I know it's perhaps the Pixie book edition of what is happening, but it's more or less what's happening every places. So just getting this up and running, just having some standard around our models have really sparked the development of AI. So RAG and fine-tuning. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And then there's fine-tuning. When we are training an LLM model, which can talk to us, it has a language, but it might not have the knowledge. So, and it can also be some specialized knowledge, because perhaps around guitars, as an example. So to add the knowledge, we have two options. We can look up the information, or we can learn the information. And it's the most expensive is to learn the information. It's like humans. If we would like to learn something new, we have to invest some time in it, perhaps some money, and go through some training to get to know things. while perhaps if we just can look it up, we can save a lot of time, a lot of money, and perhaps we can use it in general. So Reich, looking up our information, fine-tune, learn it, and that's for LLM like ChatGPT and so forth. Good. That was some of the terminologies, and if there's any questions, yeah, just go ahead. But let's start with
currently there is no question. Yeah. You could just continue.
Okay, thanks.
Nope. You're welcome.
In Fabric, of course, we have the Copilot. It's everywhere. I don't use it that much. Yeah, it works, and I also think that people can benefit from it. And we also see that the Copilot can help building reports, but there's also like, okay, this is often when we are building a report, some kind of management has to build some decision of these reports. So how do we secure quality? That's my biggest concern about these Copilots building the reports in Fabric and Power BI as well. But it's there, it's everywhere, and it's you can see it's just some screen dumps I took. It might help you. Microsoft is also enhancing that. Okay, this is for augmenting the human. It's not for replacing the human. And I think it's a very good phrase to have with the technology you're making when you're making AI. Whether it's the truth or not, or how the future will end, we really don't know. But but the intention is not to remove people; it's to augment people. And in my experience, is that okay, work has to usually generate more work. There's a saying saying that the price of hard work is more hard work. So I think we're going to do a lot of work in the years to come. So it has some cost, of course. It used to be very expensive. In Fabric, when we pay Fabric, we have 20 pricing tiers, and the lowest one is starting with an F2, and an F2 costs around 300 euros if we are calculating in euros, around $300 as well. And the F64 used to be equal to the old Power BI Premium P1 license. And if you're not so much into the Power BI Premium license, it's around 10,000 euros. But it was also where you got the enterprise features compared to the lower tiers. And yeah, so the F64 within Fabric is a magic tier where you can save some money on sharing reporting, and then you get some more features. And it used to be that Copilot needed an F64. It changed within the last 2 months or something like that. Copilot use a lot of so-called Fabric capacity. We pay Fabric like phone subscription. We buy a certain minutes throughout a month. And the Copilot, if we have many users, can eat a lot of these minutes very fast. So it's actually possible to buy a dedicated Copilot Fabric capacity, which can serve all of the people, many of the people, and not use it from your, for example, production capacity. It will be a disaster if that ran out of minutes. So within the last couple of months, there's been a lot of work to make this more available for many people. This might sound funny, but only works on paid capacity. There's really many people who are using Fabric right now on trial capacities. Everybody can log into, if they have a private Azure account, and then log into Fabric from there, and have 2 months for free, and with all the features available, except for the Copilot. So also, the data you communicate with your Copilot either go to US or France, depending on where you're residing. So if you're in the EU, it goes to France. Even though if you're living in Sweden or Denmark, as I do, France is the target. US is, of course, US. But if you're living in some other countries, yeah, there's this map about where do the data go. And this is the pricing tier for the Fabric SKUs, and this is the F64. So that was the assisting AI, and that will help the consumers of the products we are creating in Fabric. But let's go to some AI practitioning, because if we are a developer, we are stepping into the area of where we might find it funny. Copilot can be funny as well, but yeah, as developer, we like to build things. Microsoft started with something called AI skills, and now it's called Data Agent. And people might, yeah, can probably see where this is going. And let me show you something. Just need the right browser. Yes. So what we would like to do with a data agent is we would like to be able to speak, use natural language. And
sorry, Christian, for interrupting. Do you mind to zoom a little bit on this browser?
Of course. So is this better?
Yeah, way better. Thank you.
Thank you. So data agent now is we would like to connect to our data in Fabric. And for the people who's not familiar with Fabric, and can show you very fast. This is a Fabric workspace, and I have lakehouses here. And lakehouse is the base database, if you can put it like this. And a lakehouse can hold tables, and it can hold files in one unit. And these tables are called delta tables, and works more or less like real tables. As you will see, it's actually not that fast. That's something you have to get used to when you're using Fabric. There's good reason for why it's not faster, but completely different talk. So I have a lakehouse. I have some data in my lakehouse, and I would like to expose this data to natural language. So I have selected my curated. I'm using the so-called medallion architecture, where we are using bronze, silver, gold. That's three different lakehouses / storages. In my case, it's called curated here, and that will equals to the gold layer, and the gold layer is for data we are exposing to consumers. And what I can do is just I click the tables I would like to use for my natural language processing, and I've done a little test. Show me the most bought item. So this interface is just a test to see how does it work. When I can do much more than this, but what I can do is I can expose an API endpoint for the rest of the world, and they can access the API endpoint and use this text interface to retrieve data. So that's, you can see there's a reverb publish that will give the endpoint and so forth. the reason I'm not going to show so much into it is because that 1 month ago I was presenting it, and then we used the OpenAI assistance. That's an API which were middle layer for this. And as you can see here, they're saying, as you can see here, they're saying this is obsolete at the first half year of 2026. And was like, well, why show something which is already obsolete? But it's even more obsolete. Every documentation on this now don't have anything about a system, but now they are showing around how can we use AI Foundry to build our agents. But and if we're looking at the Microsoft master plan, this is a little bit old. We will see, okay, there's some play between the AI Foundry and using Fabric to support the AI Foundry data agents. Then, evolution happened, and a few months ago, the term MCP servers came in. And MCP servers, you can look at it a little bit like REST clients with a natural language interface. So we have a host application, and this host application speaks natural language, and we communicated with the host applications with a natural language. And a host application can be Visual Studio Code, for example. And we now have a protocol, and for using these MCPs, it stands for Model Context Protocol. And these will, I think they will push out the plans Microsoft actually had around these data agents. This has moved on very fast. So my best guess, if I'm having this session again within 2 months, this part around the AI agents will have changed again. So if anybody has built something on this, very exciting times, I'll say. So, but let's look into something which is not moving that fast. And this is around, okay, how do we use these AI services to for example, process our data and things like that. And things are not moving that fast here. So let's look into this. This is the stack I showed before. And we are in the space where we are between the AI and data, and we are going to see how do we benefit mostly and how can we bring out AI best into Fabric here. We have 2 external services, and And design, I forgot to write the names on them, but design here is the AI Foundry, and this is machine learning, Azure Machine Learning Service. Azure Machine Learning Service might be my favorite service. It's so well crafted and well done, but we get into that as well. So let's start with the least expected place for AI in Fabric. And if I go to here, I have to... that's a very, the UI is not friendly for, perhaps I can, okay, we'll manage, no worries. This is SQL Server, and this is SQL Server in Fabric, and this is an Azure SQL database. And with the rise of, with the coming of SQL Server 2025, they have actually introduced supporting technologies for AI. And one of them, it came some versions ago, is that we can invoke an external REST point. And what we can do is that we can give it a payload, and we can give it a message. And the message says, the system is telling, okay, well, what I'm trying to achieve here is that I would like to contact Azure AI Foundry, and I would like to contact a GPT model there. And I'm telling the GPT model here, okay, you are an optimistic Azure SQL database. And then I give, as a user, a question to it. How easy is it to infer questions via REST? And then when I run it, I'll get this response, and I've packed it out. The response is rather large, but the message is here, which we are getting back. So we're actually able to do AI in Azure SQL database, but the Azure SQL database has also introduced something called vector databases, which are building on a Microsoft technology called DISCAN. And this gives us the support for building this RAG system. So, and this is a way to build a RAG system in Fabric if you absolutely want to. Let me show you something. So, I talked about that we have an ecosystem now for distributing models, and what we're seeing here is Hugging Face, and Hugging Face can remind a little bit about GitHub. And I can see I would like to see the GPT model, and OpenAI community. Oh, we have the GPT model, and we get instruction in how can we install it and how can we use it, and everything we need, and we have the files. It actually builds on Git. We can see we have some ONGs file, which I showed early on, and we can also see, okay, we can deploy it to Azure ML from here. So in that way, we actually have very easy access to these models, and they have all kind. And the DeepSeek is very popular. I guess that's why it's in the top. But where I'm going, this is Azure AI Foundry, and AI Foundry is like Fabric is becoming the one-stop for data in Azure. AI Foundry is becoming almost the one-stop for AI in Azure. And we can see here, if I have the model catalog, we have different things to select from, and the grok is the one for Meta. But how do I use the models? I can take deploy model, deploy base model, and let's see collection. And then what do we have? With Hugging Face. I have all the models for Hugging Face available. So in that way, I can also pull the models to me and expose them through OpenAI and pay for the models, the one who cost through OpenAI AI Foundry. The one we used here, I have a GPT 3.5 Azure SQL database model. And if anybody remembers the password, well done. It's also being recorded. So yeah, they're going to be changed. So I get an endpoint and I get a key, because that's what I need to infer the model. And I get an example of how can we code against it and use it. And that was what I brought to my script here. So I have some input to the models, and then I have the API key and the URL taken from it, and we can see that the name is actually the same. So when it's an example of, okay, things works in sockets, we just take a model pop into the web service socket where the model can reside, and we can actually reach it from the outside. And that's actually a good thing when it comes to Fabric. Let's continue on the slides. So one of the ways is to work with Fabric and work with AI. Upfront, Fabric doesn't have the AI capabilities as Azure AI Foundry have. So that's why we are talking about Azure AI Foundry now. And one way to communicate with the Foundry and also Azure Machine Learning is to use ML Flow. So if getting started on this ML Flow, it's the people behind Databricks who invented this, is a good place, it's a good library to learn. And then this strange sign here, it comes from Synapse. And we are not going to use Synapse. I know people might not like Synapse, but Synapse ML, Synapse Machine Learning, is one of the coolest libraries ever made within the Microsoft realm and doing AI machine learning. And we're going to look a little.
Christian.
Yeah.
I have a question. This is the Azure Synapse you mentioned too, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. It comes from the Azure Synapse.
I ask, what is the difference between Microsoft Fabric?
Yeah. So the difference.
Do you mind if I ask what's the difference between the Azure Synapse and Microsoft Fabric?
Yeah, of course. Synapse was made. How can I put it? As just a data service you put on in your data center and could process data, and it could deliver data to some place. But it didn't work that well, to be honest. And I think Microsoft had the same impression, and it became much expensive. And I think what Synapse, the idea behind the Synapse is actually what we are seeing in Fabric. So Synapse were a big, what can I say, investment from Microsoft. It was the first step to saying, okay, we would like to own the data market, and we would like to bring data service close together. But it still had some challenges, and it seems like in Fabric we have to solve all these. But okay. Yeah,
thank you.
Good. Yeah, you're welcome. So, but good things came from Synapse, like this Synapse ML. So, and it has actually nothing to do with Synapse as such. Okay. It just works good with Spark. The ML.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. The ML flow is actually very easy to use. So we are setting a track URI, and this is pointing to a local machine, but it can actually point to Databricks, it can point to Azure Machine Learning, it can point to Fabric. And there's some dashboarding to support this, also coming out of the ML flow package. Fabric has built its own, but it can also be used to build models, and it can, when we're building the models, it can also save the models in a model repository. Hugging Face was a model repository which built on GitHub, but MLflow has its own standard for model repositories. So it means like, okay, if I build an ML model on my machine, I can select, okay, it should go to Databricks, Azure Machine Learning, or Fabric. And if I'm standing at Databricks, I can do the same. Or if I'm standing at Fabric, I can do the same. So it's very interchangeable, very open standard, very, very easy to work with. Let me show you an example. And yeah, it's the best example. I'm not a cow expert, so don't judge me, but I think it's very funny. So I've tried to make an example where I've pictured myself as a farmer having cows. And what we're seeing on the pictures here is that we have to imagine that it is cameras, and we would like to supervise our cows. We would also like to have some IoT, which are measuring how much water do they have. Are the fence broken? We have fence, a fence breach here. And then I drive around and I record my observation. That can be like, okay, I see the fence are broken, there are 3 cows missing. So I have taken these texts and I have translated them to sound files. I can try to play one here. It's usually don't go well through recordings, but let's try.
The velvet chocolate cake has its high.
Wrong. I've created some new files since. But
we were hearing very clearly.
Oh, you did hear very clearly. I think I created some new files. So yeah, let me try explain. It was about chocolate cake apparently. Nonetheless, I'm using AI Foundry to translate the text to WoW files. But what I would like to show in reality is that, okay, when working in Fabric, we have structured data, and structured data has been the same problem from the last 40 years. So we know how to handle that. That's traditional database. Then we have semi-structured data. That would be a JSON file, like the measuring we did. And then we have non-structured data. That's pictures or WoW files. And I have made, just have to be at the right one. I've made a notebook, and you're welcome to get this notebook, which I'm calling the farm. And I have here in bronze, I have the camera overview. And I'm using this special folder structure called hive partitioning. And this is the images you saw of the cows, and we have the voice recording and so forth. I'm going to do like this. So this is Python, and you can see I'm using the Synapse ML. And the challenge here is like, okay, how do I join a picture with sound with JSON? And I'm using, again, OpenAI. This is the service key, and it can guess from the service key where do I need my attention. And what we're seeing while it's starting up is that it's searching the directory for PNG files, and then it finds one file. It actually finds 3 files, but it can only show one. And we have some content here. So we're reading up the images, and we can see we have a lot of content. This we are sending to AI Foundry. I know it says cognitive services, but you know the fastest way to introduce new services is to rename old ones. So it still says cognitive services, and we can send it to AI Foundry, and then it can look at the picture, and it will come back and say, okay, this is the count of cars I have. And then we can, for the audio processing, we can also send that to AI Foundry. Sorry for that. And it is, again, Synapse ML, and we are using, in this case, speech to text. So it's very intuitive. What we're doing, hopefully, is that, okay, we have an audio file. It's some speech. We would like to have it to text, and we got it from the text. Then we would like to...
Christian, we have a question which might be relevant at the moment. Tony, if I'm pronouncing correctly, asked, how do you handle data labeling?
Data labeling? That's a good question. I can do it with AI as well. I don't have a good solution. It depends on the case. I'm a consultant, so to say that. But if it's text, I will just send it through cognitive services as well. It can do it. It can also label pictures. So it depends on the data.
Okay, but so I don't know if Tony get an answer or not yet. But if you have more like related questions in this regard, just ask it in the chat, and we will bring it up.
Yes.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I can see I'm also a bit on time, so let me show. It's a lot of code, and what I'm doing here is that, okay, I'm using an LLM to do some sentiment analysis, figuring out is it's a good observation or bad observation. In the end, I have taken the audio and translated to text, the images translated to text, and that's a way I can index the different sources, and then I can join it in the end, and I can get some information around my cows and fields. It was a lot of code, so Microsoft has introduced a new scope. Again, it's based on Synapse ML, but they have introduced this AI scope, and now we can call a lot of these services as one command. This will use your Fabric capacity, so you will pay for that through Fabric, and it can be a bit expensive, so sometimes it can still make sense to use AI Foundry. And it also requires an F64, so yeah, $10,000 upfront. That was an example. We also have the term of pre-built models. It was something introduced in the beginning. It hasn't evolved since. I think it will fall out. It was like an internal OpenAI for Fabric. So model repositories. Model repository is a place where we store our models. Either they come from Hugging Face, it can be, as we saw in AI Foundry, that has this model space where we can expose some models and so forth. And as I told before, we can use MLflow to do this. And Fabric is also using MLflow and also have a way to store models. It can be a bit confusing. But you can see here, they have the concept of models. And if I go into a model, almost like in OpenAI, I can select a version of the model, and I can ask it to apply the version of model. This is part of what used to be called Fabric data science, and it seems like I really loved if this has worked a little bit better, if I have to be honest, because that's where I'm come from. It's like, okay, let's build some machine learning, let's build some models, but I think they have made it a little bit complicated, because then we have a model which can live by a lake house, which can live by a notebook, so it can be a bit confusing if I'm holding up to Azure machine learning, where I have this model pane, and I have my models here, and you can see it also using MLflow, and we can reach the model by using this URL. So what I'm trying to say is that in regards to machine learning and so forth, Fabric is missing a little bit still, but let's see what they have. When we're using MLflow-based models and we're using Spark, we have both in Fabric. We can pull a model from the repository and we can put it out to the Spark workers. And Spark is a data processing engine, and it consists of a head server and worker servers, and then it can take some data and put out to the worker servers, and they can process the data in each that chunk, and then that way we can handle big data. And a way to do prediction on big data is read from a model repository and put out the models on every Spark worker node. So, but when we are building ML models and AI models, there are some jobs to be done. And if we're building deep learning models, we are in need of CPU, of course, we always are, and GPUs and TPU. And only CPUs are supported in Microsoft Fabric. So you're close to the data, but building these LLMs and so forth, and picture recognition and so forth, really don't fly in Fabric. But they're flying in Azure Machine Learning. Azure Machine Learning, I have access to NVIDIA's high-end models of CPUs and GPUs. They cost like $150 per hour, but it's possible. DevOps and version control is on the list. They're not there. Data wrangling is very supported. We have the Spark, and we also have good support for Pandas, and we have some UI support as well. And trained a model can be a bit strange. So, but when building machine learning models, in particular, AutoML is a big help. When I started, I was like, okay, I have to find the right model. I have to test, and I have to do like 1,000 trials to pick the right model. Then when I've tried that for a long time, I was like, okay, isn't there a faster way? And AutoML is a good way to do it. And you can skip this one. Sorry. A part of AutoML is hyperparameters, and hyperparameters is okay. We have an algorithm, and this algorithm perhaps needs some tweaking. So you have to look at it as a dials on the algorithm itself, and there can be millions of settings for this. So we're using AutoML to fit these hyperparameters. But let me show how easy it actually is. I can start by showing here. So let's say I have a data set with housing prices.
Just one thing, Christian. Sorry to interrupt. We also need to keep track of the time, so I think we could go like 5 more minutes.
Yes, I think I need just 2. I think I can explain very fast. So,
perfect.
Yeah, AutoML is like you're saying, okay, I have this data. I need to, for example, housing prices. I need to predict the sales prices of the house, and AutoML figure out everything for you, and it gives you a model, the best fit. It do like 100 trials and find the best fit model. It is also supported in Fabric. DevOps around it, MLOps around it is not supported, and it works okay, but it's an option. But yeah, until we have DevOps support and ML support, I would I'm still using Azure Machine Learning. So I think we can conclude it here. Sorry for going a bit
all good. No worries.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, is there any questions from audience regarding the ML and AI capabilities in here? Then I have one question, because I'm coming from like I'm still doing a lot of developer stuff, and I'm wondering, is there a way like to source control, like how we deploy resources, or is there like similar, or is it different approach when we want to provision a Microsoft Fabric environment?
It's a very good question. It has been for a long time, it was noted that Fabric wasn't matured because the support for CI/CD was not there. It is there now, but Fabric works a lot in items. So the Git experience is support Git and also GitHub and DevOps. But the Git experience is a lot different than we know from the developer experience.
Okay, cool. But currently there are like CI tools and things that we could leverage.
Yes, there's.
Amazing. Okay, I don't see any questions in the comments. Then how could guys and the audience reach out to you out of this session?
They're welcome to reach me on LinkedIn, Christian Henrik Reich. I think I'm the only one there. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yes, okay, then let's being on the stage again. So thanks everyone for joining, and hopefully wish you a very nice evening. Don't forget about the events that we have on July. Here's the link. Go there and check all the amazing sessions we have. The first one would be on the 5th of July and the second one on 12th of July. And every Saturday as mentioned. Okay, any last words from you, and Christian?
I'm very happy to be able to be here and tell about Fabric. So thank you.
Thanks for being with us and sharing your experience. Okay, amazing. Then have a nice evening, everyone, and damn it, yeah.
Cool.